Hi guys, so I am here to do my summer TBR for 2020. I'm here with a healthy stack of books, a little bit overambitious perhaps, but I thought it'd be fun nevertheless. So I have two books that are carried over from my last TBR, one of them of which I'm actually in the middle of. Oh, and before I get right into this, I should probably say this doesn't include any possible books that I might read off of my Kindle. I just find it easier when I can think of them to just pull books off that I physically own, but I've been making it more of a point to read through my tablet Kindle books, specifically NetGalley. So yeah, there's that. It doesn't like delete any of that, if that makes sense. So the book that I'm currently in the middle of reading of, which I am taking as like my lunch work break book, is Transcription by Kate Atkinson. So this one I have been meaning to read for a little while. I've been meaning to read her as an author for a little while. I think I've got 3 of her books, and I don't know why. I'm just very attracted to her books, and it's just like general adult fiction. I think she writes a bit of like fluidly throughout that broad genre, but this book in particular, we're following this woman called Juliet, who she's basically recounting her life story as she was sort of recruited into espionage during World War II, and it's kind of just like that really. It's just a bit of history, how she kind of made her way up into MI5, and then I guess you kind of see where she is now. Apparently I don't know if it's, so originally I thought it was going to flip between the two perspectives of 1940 when she was coming up into MI5, and then sort of like current. I don't know if it is current to be fair, but 10 years later, sorry, because I think there is a more current situation where she is a producer at the BBC. But it doesn't seem to do that. I think it is just recounting backwards from the early days onwards. So far I'm enjoying it, like more or less. It is something I don't generally read in terms of fiction, but as I said, this author I've been wanting to read some of her works for a while for some reason. So I guess once I get through this I'll see if she is someone that I want to look out more for. But as I say, I have got 2 other books by her that I'll probably still eventually read, regardless of whether I like this or not. But yeah, that is Transcription that I am currently in 126 pages of. And the other book that was carried over from that, I've got cat hair on my lip gloss, list of books for my past TBR is Children of Blood and Bone by Tommy Adeyemi. I feel like this has constantly been pushed on to my TBRs whenever I make them, and I still haven't gotten around to do it yet. I just think I am so scared of the hype, and as I keep mentioning, I have a video idea for what I want to do with this book, but it requires me to read a couple of others. One of them I think is included in this as well. So yeah, I mean, it's not even like a massive video idea, it's just something that it's daunting for me for some reason, and so I keep putting it off. So what I know about this is it takes inspiration from African mythology, and people have said it's kind of like Avatar, and we're following, I think, from 2 perspectives, someone from the royal, I think she's run away or something, and somebody else who's from this group of people who the royals have taken the power away from them, the power of magic, and I think they've slaughtered a lot of people. So yeah, she's kind of on the rise to get that back, and kind of fulfill that destiny, I guess. And I think the 2 plots of the royal member and then this person meet, and they go on the journey together or something. So yeah, they've got, I think the 3rd book is supposed to come out this year if I remember correctly, and I'm pretty sure there was supposed to be a movie deal made or something, but I've not really heard too much more about that. So I would like to get to this before a movie is released, and it's a book that I think I would thoroughly enjoy. I'm just, as I say, I'm scared of the hype a little bit. So on to a book that I will probably finish relatively soon in the grand scheme of things. It's something I'm currently reading, and it is Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince by J.K. Rowling. So this is the 6th book out of the series, so I'm nearly finished their series now, which has been so much fun. If you don't know, I've been reading them for like the first time, and I've been doing like reading vlogs each time, so I'm currently doing a reading vlog at the minute for this one, and yeah, I'm having such a blast with it. So I don't want to, I mean, everybody and their mother kind of knows about what Harry Potter's about, so I won't bore you about the plot of this one, particularly because it's a, you know, near the end of the series as well. But magical school, Harry Potter, That's all you need to know. Gets darker. So yeah, I am currently on page 143 of this. I think chapter 8, chapter 9. No, I'm on 144, sorry. So yeah, I am currently reading this at the minute, so I'll definitely finish that this week or the week after. Now, to sort of finish off a trilogy that I have had as a current read for years, like I've been in the middle of this trilogy for years, and that is the Age of the Five trilogy by Trudy Canavan, and this is the third and final book in that, and it's Voice of the Gods. And yeah, so what I can remember from the first book, because I think it was quite a few years ago that I picked up the series, but basically we are following these people that are able to communicate with the gods, I believe. You know what, shall I get the first book down? I'll get the first book down and read you the synopsis for that, because I think I'm gonna probably spoil things that I don't mean to spoil, and it will just rejig my memory of what it's about anyway. So these are the other two books in the series. So this is the first one. It is called The Priestess of the White, and it says inside, when Aurora was chosen to become a priestess, it meant leaving behind her village, her family, and her friendship that she had formed with Liard, the local dreamweaver. Oh my god, I remember that character. Well, okay, sorry, I just had like a moment there. Masters of herb lore and healing, dreamweavers were despised for their heathen beliefs, when Aurora knew that she must hide her respect for the godless healers if she was to succeed in her new life. Now 10 years later, she is a priestess of the White, one of the 5 spiritual and temporal rules of the land. Though gifted with exceptional powers by the gods, Aurora still needs time to fully adapt to her new abilities, but time is the one thing she does not have. Mysterious black-clad sorcerers plague the land, leaving death and wanton destruction in their wake. An early confrontation rises the fear, raises the fear that these powerful strangers may even be stronger than the godly chosen 5. And when Aurora finds herself in conflict with one of them, the encounter almost proves fatal. As hostile forces gather momentum, the White work to seal alliances wherever they can. Even the heathen dreamweavers must, it seems, be trusted if the land is to be drawn back from the brink of war. Aurora will need to master her gifts and call upon the courage and wisdom of her disposal. For if the tide is not turned quickly, Aurora feels that she may be remembered as the last priestess of the White. So it's really cool. It kind of, you know, has this interesting magic sense where they're like literally wielding, like they're almost blessed by the gods. And yeah, that's kind of that. It's like a brink of war. They're having to kind of make alliances with those that they don't usually trust. And yeah, basically this is just an author even though I've only read 2 of her books so far, I greatly enjoy. So hopefully I will enjoy the conclusion of this. And I've slowly like been collecting some of her other books from like library sales and charity shops and stuff. So she's someone that I would love to enjoy more of her work. I just need to get around and finish this, because I did really enjoy the first 2 books from what I can remember. I don't know why it's just taken me so long to wrap that up, but that's not as daunting because it is the last book of a trilogy, so it'll be nice to wrap up a series, as that's another one of my goals for this year. Let me just put these books back and I'll be back in a second. On with the other stack of books, so we have Down and Out in Paris and London by George Orwell. So I'm not like super hyped or excited to read this. That is a strange kind of thing to say when I'm talking about TBR books and books generally that I'm excited to get to, but basically I bought a couple of George Orwell books together, and this is the last one that I have, and I just kind of want to read it so it can be sitting on its shelf with its buddies. But yeah, I'm not super stoked or excited to read this one. I don't really even know exactly what it's about. I just think it's basically his life story in a bit, and how he got on during a poorer time as a writer in Paris and London. So it says here, to be poor and destitute in 1920s Paris and London was to experience life at its lowest ebb. George Orwell, penniless and with nowhere to go, found himself experiencing just this as he wandered the streets of both capitals in search of a job. By day he tramped the streets, often passing time with screevers or street artists, drunks and other hobos. Okay. At night he stood in line for a bed in a spike or doss house, where a cup of sugary tea, a hunk of stale bread and a blanket were the only substance and comfort on offer. It's a haunting account of the streets and those who have no choice but to live on them. So yeah, this will probably be, even though it's like a shorter book, I think it'll be like a slower read that will take me a couple of weeks, maybe even a month to get through, just because it's not like, I don't anticipate it being exciting or maybe even interesting, but as I say, I would like to read it. And I don't think George Orwell has many books out, so I kind of low-key want to collect all the books he has published and read them. So there's that. I don't really have a great deal to say about this one, sorry. Then we have Marlon James's A Brief History of 7 Killings. And this won the Man Booker Prize 2015. Now I want to read the synopsis of this because I feel like every time I try to describe it, I describe it wrong. And so he's got a fictional book out about wolves, red wolves, something that I want to read as well, but because I got this one first, and because I don't know, I just have it in my head that I want to read this first, even though they're completely non-related in terms of content and, you know, what it's about. But anyway, this one says, 7 gunmen storm Bob Marley's house, machine guns blazing. The reggae superstar survives, but the gunmen are never caught. From the acclaimed author of the Book of the Night Woman comes a dazzling display of masterful storytelling exploring the near-mythic event. Spanning 3 decades and crossing continents, A Brief History of 7 Killings chronicles the lives of a host of unforgettable characters. Slum kids, one-night stands, drug lords, girlfriends, gunmen, journalists, and even the CIA. Gripping and inventive, ambitious and mesmerising. It's one of the most remarkable and extraordinary novels of the 21st century. So for some reason, I keep thinking it's like a non-fiction, but it's not, is it? I think they take the death or attempted murder of Bob Marley, and I think he kind of goes off of the people that were involved and kind of makes stories about them, whether he draws inspiration for what really happened and kind of embellishes it and makes it his own, or what. So I am interested in this. I don't know exactly how I'm gonna feel about it, like how, if it's realistic or not, do you know what I mean? Like, I think it might confuse me, and if it's real or fictional based. That's probably why I've been putting it off a bit, and that's another chunk of book that is probably going to take me a good while to get through, depending on the pace and how it reads. Then we have a couple relatively new books that I've purchased over the last couple of months or so, and this is a second in a series I've already started. I didn't know it was a series at the time really, but that is A Sprinkle of Sorcery by Michelle Harrison, and the first book is A Pinch of Magic. I don't know what the series is called. I'm not sure what the series is called, but it is so far a fantastic middle grade series following 3 sisters who are told that they are never ever able to leave this place that they were born, but they have this desire, well, one particular, I think it's the middle sister, has the desire to explore, and basically it's tied up with witchcraft and magic, and there's also like a bit of a prison break in the first book as well, and this is just the sequel. I imagine it's going to be a different adventure. It's got gorgeous orange edges as well, maybe more to do with being free of having to stay on this island or whatever, but we shall see. It was a really good book, so I'm very excited to get to this one, hopefully soon. I feel like it might be one of the books I pick up shortly after finishing Harry Potter, but we shall see. Then I have here another book within a series, and it's the Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children series by Ransom Riggs, and it is The Conference of the Birds, which is the 5th novel of said series. And yeah, this is, I think it's one of my favourite series, to be fair. We're basically following, it's one of those series again where I've been reading them for like so long that I don't want to say something that might be a spoiler and not realise. So let me get the first book here and tell you what it says on the back. So, a mysterious island and an abandoned orphanage, a strange collection of peculiar photographs. It all waits to be discovered in Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children, an unforgettable novel that mixes fiction and photography in a thrilling reading experience. As our story opens, a horrific family tragedy sets 16-year-old Jacob journeying into a remote island off the the coast of Wales, where he discovers the crumbling ruins of Miss Peregrine's home for peculiar children. As Jacob explores its decaying bedrooms and hallways, it becomes clear that Miss Peregrine's children were more than just peculiar. They may have been dangerous, they may have been quarantined on a deserted island for good reason, and somehow, impossible though it seems, they may still be alive. And it's basically following on that journey, what's been found, you know, new threats, that sort of stuff. It's a series that I really do enjoy, and yeah, and I was very happy in a way that it's been expanded, because I think originally it was supposed to be a trilogy, and then the books kept on coming. So yeah, I'm happy. I just hope it stays good quality, you know, because I think the last book, it might have been the book before, was a little bit of a lower rating than I had been originally given. Okay, and then we have a book, I believe this was the joint winner of last year's Booker Prize, and it is Girl, Women, Other by Bernardine Evaristo. And this one seems like 3 short stories of 3, I think predominantly black women, and it's just about their life. I think eventually they all connect in some way, and I've heard really great things about this. Some people, I think I've heard, said that it could have been shorter. There could have been one less story or something, because apparently one didn't really do anything for the story or whatever. Basically, that's all I know about it, so let's find out a little bit more. Welcome to Newcastle, 1905. Oh, I didn't know it was going to span, maybe I might have known this, I didn't realise it would span across different years. 10-year-old Grace is an orphan dreaming of mysterious African father she will never meet. Cornwall, 1953. Winsome is a young bride recently arrived from Barbados, realising the man she married might be a fool. London, 1980. Amma is the fierce queen of her squatter's palace, ready to smash the why can't I say that? You know what I'm saying, with a new kind of feminist theatre. Oxford, 2008. Carol is rejecting her cultural background, Nigeria by way of Peckham, to blend in at her posh university. Northumberland, 2017. Morgan, who used to be Megan, is visiting Hattie, who's in her 90s, who used to be young and strong, who fights to remain independent, and who still misses Slim every day. Welcome to Britain and 12 very different people, mostly women, mostly black, who call it home. Teeming with life and crackling with energy, Girl, Women, Other follows them across the miles and down the years, with vivid originality, irrepressible wit and sly wisdom. Bernardine Evaristo presents a gloriously new kind of history for this old country, ever dynamic, ever expanding, and utterly irresistible. I think this would be really beneficial for me to read, because I don't read a lot about black history, particularly black British history, and I know this is a fictional account, but I feel like, you know, it draws some truth about real people. So yeah, I would definitely like to read this sooner rather than later. I was hoping, I think back in April, that I was going to read it, but I didn't get a chance to in the end, so hopefully now that I physically put it on a TBR, it will push me and remind me to pick it up. And then lastly, on my TBR, you know, well, I mean, I pick up anything to be fair, but lastly for what I hope to read, is a fun one, and it's Stranger Things, Worlds Turned Upside Down, and this is like basically about the show. I think there's going to be a 4th season, but now that I've finished all seasons, I just kind of wanted to pick this up and go through it. Again, it's something that will probably take me a while to read, because I don't read books like this in terms of like books about movies, books about TV shows, like predominantly. I will flick through it every couple of days or whatever. When I feel like I want to pick it up and read it, I'll go through bouts. To be fair, I did that with the Doctor Who The Vault book, and that took me like years to actually finish it, so hopefully I don't do that with this one. But yeah, that is it for this video. It was longer than I expected, and there are quite a lot of books on this TBR, quite hefty ones as well, so hopefully I muster the courage and energy to pick these up sooner rather than later. But they are on my summer TBR, so hopefully I get to most of them at some point. If not, I'll just tie them over like I've been doing. Really happy I've only had 2 books from the last TBR to tie over, because I think they've been books that have been tied over more than once, so hopefully I'll get to them. One for sure, because I'm currently reading it. The other one, we shall see. Thank you for watching. Let me know what you hope to read this summer, and I shall speak to you in another video soon. Bye.